Well, good morning, good evening, good night. I'm Ryan, this is 780 Speed and Custom. Appreciate you guys stopping by the channel today. And in today's episode, we're going to finally finish installing the AC on my 1964 Biscayne. Let's get to it.
Well,
From the scrapyard
to
the stars, we build our hot rods and racing cars. Racing legends come alive. In this metal we revive. From the track strip to the street, this addiction makes our life complete. Drag and drive ain't just for show. It's the pulse that makes us go. 780 speed and custom. 780 speed and custom.
Obviously, I've had some parts show up. I've got a few boxes here. I've got my evap kit, part number 561356. That's for a 1963 to 1964 Impala that did not come with factory AC. So this being a Biscayne, it's a base bottle Impala, and obviously didn't have any options, no AC to begin with. So this kit will bolt up nicely. It's going to use the factory heat controls, and it comes with vents and everything for the AC. So it'll bolt up nicely, look factory-ish, and be slick. So besides that, I got myself a hose kit, and then a Sandin, I can't remember, it's a 508 or 509 compressor, and Holly brackets to mount that compressor to an LS on the passenger side. So I'll get to opening up these boxes. We'll have a look and see what all came in the kits, and then we can get to install it on the car. So looking forward to it. Well, first things first, in interest of working from the front of the car to the back, I do believe this is going to be my compressor kit. So I'll open that first. Just grab myself a knife here. And yeah, see what these brackets look like. Okay, so this is Holly AC drive kit, part number 20-141. The pulley there. This is accessory drive kit, part number 20-134. So this is the main mount for that sanding compressor. So it bolts right up to your water pump. I believe it relocates the tensioner, possibly. And then obviously that compressor mounts here. So that will sit kind of over here like that. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not. And mount that compressor nice and off to the side, out of our way. Should work good. In that box, I'm assuming, yeah, a bunch of hardware. Now it is important to note, and it does say in the fine print when you order this kit, that depending on what accessory drive you have, whether it's Corvette, truck, or Camaro, they're different lengths, you have to order a supplementary kit so that everything lines up correctly. This should be the kit that will align everything properly. Yes, it is. So it's some more billet spacers basically, and some longer hardware. So this will get mounted behind that first bracket I showed you. So if you're running Camaro accessory drive, it'll be slightly shorter. If you're running Corvette, it's gonna be shorter yet. So that's important to note, to make sure you get that if you are ordering this Holly kit to mount that sanding compressor or another compressor. Okay, and then this final box, I'm assuming, is going to be, yeah, my compressor, 134A, Sandin, packaged well, they don't want to give it up. So there you go. Nice sanding compressor. Okay, so obviously I didn't buy one of their complete kits. I mean, if I had a factory 64 Biscayne, they make kits to mount a compressor that would work with the original accessory drive and all that stuff. I've switched to an LS. That's why I've kind of had to separate things out and order the bracketry and compressor separate from the vintage air kit. This is the hose kit that I bought It's part number 106359-2-55, and there again, this is 63 to 64 Impala and 134A. So that coupled with my evap kit will complete the AC side of things, along with the Holly bracketry and that Sandin 509 compressor. Well, I fumbled with this for a minute before I bothered to look at the instructions, which, I mean, you do what you want. It is obvious once you look at the instructions. I couldn't figure out what this was for. Well, if you want to mount the compressor on the passenger or driver's side, you use this bracket. We're not doing that, so we need this bracket, and this is going to ride something like so, and then on this bracket like that, and then this will ride like that. So our compressor will mount over here, tensioner, everything. It's going to be tight, but I think it'll work. Hopefully, fingers crossed. May have to modify some stuff up here, but I think it'll look good when it's all said and done. So these M8 bolts, I'm torquing to 18 foot-pounds, and the M10s I'm torquing to 35, as per the instructions. Now for the tensioner. So I had to take the supplied smooth pulley and swap the ribbed one out for the smooth one. And then they want this mounted inbound like so. And then I do believe we're going to mount the ribbed pulley up here. So it's going to come off the crank, backside onto the tensioner, around the compressor, over this top idler, and back down. And then we'll mount this idler here. Feels good. Everything lines up, torqued up. So should be able to mount my compressor now. So then in theory, this should mount, I do believe, like that. Or like that. Alright, so in all their diagrams, it's got it orientated with the connections towards the fender well, not towards the engine. So that's what we're going to do. That makes sense, because then your compressor sticker is right on top there. Refrigerant type, model, serial number, all that good stuff. So this gets some longer bolts and some bushings. Oh, don't want to pinch that wire. And then there'll be one on the bottom side as well. Okay, so I did miss a small step here. There's a bunch of little bushings. So these M10 to M8 bushings go in here, and then these ones are going to go in the back side, and then the nuts, obviously. So just slide those in one at a time. And I can put the nuts on the back, tighten everything down, torque it, and we'll be off to the races. I'm just going to snug these up, and then I'll put the torque wrench to them. These ones are 18 foot-pounds again. M8 bolt, almost everything on an LS engine seems like it's 18 foot-pounds. Actually, quite happy with the way it turned out. No more than just enough room there. Clearance-wise, should be all good. Well, that's got the AC compressor installed. Completes my accessory drive system on this LS. All I need to do now is figure out my belt length, but we can move on and tear into this evap kit, see what else is all involved in putting AC in this old car. So we'll get to it. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I've never installed AC before. I've never done this. So we're learning together as we go. I'm sure I'm bound to make a few more mistakes, but you'll be here to enjoy it. At least make fun of me or something while I'm doing it. Nice packaging. Oh yeah. We have stuff for days in here. Obviously some vent pipe. This is going to be the bezel, under dash bezel for our louvers. Should bolt up nicely. Set that over here. Wiring, Gen 5 wiring kit. Looks like nice wire. It's all twisted already, which is good. What do we have here? More plastics. Oh yeah. More bezels, more plastics, more louvers, that kind of stuff. Obviously going to be a pile of that. Control panel conversion kit. So this is be the new rods and levers for the factory controls. We got some fittings here, grommets. This is just called an install kit. Hardware, all the little stuff. This looks like a plate to block off the firewall, because I do believe the hoses for this kit actually run through the passenger side floor vent. They had two ducts. You could pull a lever that would open it up and draw in fresh air. And I think this kit actually blocks one of those off on the passenger side, and all our hoses and wiring and everything runs through that. So here's another block off plate. Not sure if that's firewall or kick panel. Figure that out as we go. Some instructions, I'm assuming. Warranty card. Packing list. Oh yeah, so there'd be that kick panel, or that louver, that vent block off plate there, obviously with provisions for lines. And then I'm assuming a support bracket. And then the main piece itself, blower motor, condenser, all that good stuff. Nice. Fairly compact unit. Only slightly larger than the factory one, I do believe. But should work good. So I'll finish unpackaging this stuff, kind of wrap my head around what goes where, and start installing things. So turns out past me made present me's life a little easier. First steps are to remove the inner fender, obviously take the battery out, remove the old heater system, heater core, all that good stuff, blower motor, all from the engine bay. You want to clear this whole side out. Obviously that's done already, so I don't need to do that. And then furthermore, in the interior, it wants the glove box and glove box door removed. It wants the cluster removed, and speaker, radio, and heater controls. So only thing I've got left to do is remove the radio and the heater controls, and we can start installing this. So should be fairly simple. This is that kick panel I was talking about earlier. There's this lever here. Just pull that. That opens up. That would bring fresh air in. Poor man's AC. So we're going to remove that and put in rich man's AC, apparently. Did forget one more thing. Under here, if I can even see it, yeah, the defrost ducting. I've got to grind that out, remove it. So that could be fun to get to, but you know, stand on your head. We'll make it happen somehow, some way. Pretty typical. I didn't film the process, but heater controls and radio are out. It's just 2 bolts or 2 nuts that hold the heater controls in and 3 for the radio. And then the defrost vent is just spot welded to the firewall, and I literally just grabbed onto it and pulled it off the firewall, so nothing to that either. Next step is going to be to remove the beveled edge off this hole here, and then we'll attach a plate to cover that up.
Wires tangled metal, screaming dirty hands at war. Rusty dreams, a sweet relief on a Chevy 64. Sweat drips down like rain on steel, no mercy from the sun. Chasing ghosts of cold salvation, this work is never done. Cool breeze, whisper baby, save my weary soul.
Got that inner edge trimmed off. Probably would have been easier to use something other than a zip disc, but it worked. Reason for moving that lip is because this plate is going to mount on the outside of the firewall, like so. Got to drill that extra hole I've already marked, and then obviously this gets seam sealed to the firewall. And then on the inside, it wants you to put some insulation matting. I have some leftover Dynamat I'll use. It's essentially the same thing. It's more sound deadening than insulation, but I have it, and it's better than nothing, and I'm not going to order some and wait a few weeks for it to show up, so that's what we're going to use. Stay. Firewall cover plate is all bolted into place. Just those 3 for now. Still leaves these 3 open. I'm assuming that goes into the evaporator box, but we'll see. Next step, we'll be diving underneath the dash and removing the poor man's AC, so we can run the lines and everything through there, putting in the defrost duct, and yeah, all kinds of stuff under there. So get to it. To complete that block off plate, I just put a little bit of Dynamat over top of it, which will help seal, keep the heat out, and a little bit of sound deadening. Next thing it wants you to do is mark and drill a couple of holes in the cowl, there and there. Basically just holding up your defrost vent, using it as a template, marking and drilling. So I'll get that screwed up, and then we can move on to this little vent here. We'll remove all that so we can run our wiring and hose through. Defrost vent's all mounted up. Not real happy with it. It's a little bit flimsy, but I'm sure it'll work fine. So the next step is to remove this. There's just, I think, 6 screws to pull this plate off, and then 2 holding the cable on. So I'll get that all pulled off. Now, I did run into one small problem. This is the cover for that kick panel. All well and fine there, but in the instructions, I don't know if you can see this, I'm missing the cover that goes on the outside of the firewall. So I've messaged vintage air about it, but I don't know how much I care. I don't really want to wait for it because, I mean, at best case scenario, it could be a week. Worst case could be a couple of months. So, and I'd rather get this all buttoned up and done with. I don't want to leave this job partially done. So I think I'm just going to make that outer cover. I'll show you where it goes. Basically, inside the fender well, where it drew that fresh air in, there's a hole there. This cover just goes over that and has grommets to run the hoses through. So I can't see it being that complicated to make. I'll just grind off the lip on the firewall like we did for that flat plate, and then just build a flat piece of aluminum with those grommets in it to run everything through. It'll work just fine. So that's likely what I'm going to do there, but not a big deal. So mine will be a little bit different than yours, but we'll keep going here. So if I dip in the fender well here, that is the hole in question. So that cover is supposed to go over top of this and then have the grommets for everything to come through the firewall there. So I'll just take this lip off and build a flat plate to cover that up, seam seal it just like we did for this one, and we'll be good. So this is pretty rough, but that's essentially what I need. The centers for all the grommets, the 2 mounting holes, and then just kind of roughly the shape that fits in there. That'll work. It'll it doesn't have to look good. It's under the fender, no one's gonna see it anyway. It'll be our little secret. So I'll just plasma this out, drill them holes, and should be able to keep going here. Well, there's the finished product. So mounting holes line up. These are where my grommets will fit, the 4 1/4 and then the 5/8 hole. It's not perfect, but it'll work. It just needs to hold hoses and guide things so they're not rubbing on anything. So that should work. I'll paint it black. I'll get that lip removed off the firewall, and we can get this seam sealed and mounted up and start routing our hoses. All right, next step is going to be to run the wires and the hoses through that kick panel. I've got to dig out the main harness, plus the harness off of here. That's all AC lines and heater lines. Got to run everything through the grommets first, then attach these plates, inner and outer, through that fender wall vent. And then we can mount this unit up, mount our louvers, and we'll basically be done. So I'm going to spend some time routing this stuff through, and I will see you when I'm done. I've got the hoses routed through now and all the wiring. This is that plate I made. I'm going to cover that hole. Should work good there. I've just got everything hanging loosely on the outside. You're supposed to mount that up, but I'm still going to have a bit of work to do because I've got to crimp the ends on the other AC lines, and obviously I'm not hooking anything up until I'm ready to charge the system because I don't want to get any moisture in the system. So yeah, basically you're supposed to lay the box out on the passenger floor and route all your wires and your lines through, AC lines and heater lines. Then you hook up your heater lines on this end at least, and then we can flip this up onto the firewall and mount it. So that's the stage I'm at. Like I said, you're supposed to mount this stuff up right now, but I'm going to leave it loose because I'm still going to have to pull these lines out to crimp the other end. And yeah, I've got a feeling I'm going to have to move things around a bit more yet. So hopefully I can get this box mounted up and still have access to this. I guess we'll see. Well, that's got everything kind of mocked up and mounted at least. Everything run through the bulkheads like it's supposed to. To loop this hose around to hook it up so it doesn't kink there, but it's yeah, it's all coming together. I think I've about had enough for the day, so I'm going to pick this up another day and we'll finish this up. There's not a whole lot, well, I guess there's enough, but not a whole lot left to do. Mount the ducts, wire it, all the ducting, the vents, that kind of stuff. Got to get ends crimped on those other end of the refrigerant lines yet, so I can figure out the length there. And yeah, we're getting there, slowly but surely. Okay, well, it's a new day in the garage here. I touched up the firewall off camera while you weren't looking. So it's at least one color now. Actually, it looks really good, I think so. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but I'll show you here in a second. Anyway, we still got quite a bit to do on the AC install. I've got to get my hoses made up. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I got to finish plumbing the heater lines. I haven't touched any of the wiring, heater controls, that kind of stuff. Still got to run a drain line through the firewall, so there is plenty to do. Obviously, I haven't touched the ducting or mounted any of the bezels, so lots left to do, but I feel like we are making some serious headway here, and yeah, nothing left to do but keep going, so let's get at it. There's the spiffed up and painted firewall. I think it turned out pretty good. It's not exactly the same shade of red, but you polish it up. It's not too far off, a little deeper, but no one's gonna notice. Another thing I didn't show on camera was actually mounting this evap unit up. It's actually quite simple. You just install 2 studs in the back side. It flips up and mounts through that same plate we put in. Then you pull those studs out and insert the bolts that came with the kit. So everything bolts through that plate that covers the original hole. The next step is to insert the riv nuts into these 2 holes here and to mount this plate to that, which will get bolted to the bottom of the dash as well. So not much to it, but that will completely secure the evap kit in here, and then we just have to start worrying about plumbing and ducting and wiring. It's pretty simple on this end, just the 2 riv nuts on the bottom, and then it mounts up to the original speaker mount hole on the top. So that holds this nice and solid to the firewall and to the dash. So then the next step is marking and drilling the drain lines. So on the bottom, there's this nipple here. I want you to mark straight across, then 2 inches down and 2.5 inches over, and drill a 5/8 hole there. So I'll drill a hole and we can run that drain line through. So there's the finished product, just run through the firewall, seam sealed around it, and yeah, should be good to go. Now I have had my AC lines made, so I've gone ahead and hooked everything up, mounted this plate proper, and hooked everything up on the other end, so I'll show you that. So I'm not real sure how things are going to get routed, so I've tried to keep it kind of tight together with everything else, and then inboard so I can mount it to the inside of the inner fender. But yeah, all my lines are hooked up to the compressor up front here. The receiver dryer and the condenser lines are all hooked up through the cowl or the core support. And yeah, starting to look pretty good actually. So next step, I've got to put the inline electric valve for the heater core, and I believe we move on to ducting, possibly wiring. So this is the valve in question. This gets plumbed in line with the supply to the heater core. They want you to put it 4 to 5 inches away from that cowl underneath this inner fender, but I'm going to mount it a little bit more inboard just so I have access to it, and there's still plenty enough wire to get to where I need to go. I think I'm routing things a little bit differently. I believe they want it routed all the way through and then come out the front here in front of, like come out say this hole versus that hole. But yeah, I want to come out back there. So, well, with the heater valve installed, it's telling me my next step. Next thing I can do is reinstall the inner fender. So that's exciting. Whole reason I took it off was to gain access to all this. So we got to be getting close if that means it can go back on. So I think I'm just going to snap my fingers and the inner fender will be installed. And there you have it. Inner fender wells put back in. So I can start tying up all these lines, figuring out what I'm going to do with the wiring. And we still got lots to do on the interior, so we'll get to it. All right, well, I can finally see light at the end of the tunnel. All I've really got left to do is the wiring and to mount all of the little bezels and ducting. And unfortunately, the wiring is going to have to wait because some of it needs to tie into a fuse panel, and I've got no wiring done on this car. So that'll hopefully be either the next video or the video after. I will tie into the wiring. But for now, I'll finish up this AC install by mounting up the bezels, the ducting, and the new glove box. We'll get all that buttoned up, and the controls. Heater controls, I still got to modify those. But once I get that done, I'll essentially be done installing AC in this 1964 Biscayne. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to being done this install, but it really wasn't that bad. So I'll keep going here. Like I said, not much left to do, so get those last couple things done and we can move on. Well, there's not much to the install of the ducting and the bezels. You've got basically two of these, this main big one and one smaller one that goes on the driver's side. You just kind of line these up with one OEM hole over here and then mark and drill the rest. Screw this up, then the louvers click in and the ducting just goes on the back side of that and connects to all those connections there on the side of the evap. So fairly simple. I'll just go ahead and quickly mount these up, and we can move on to modifying the heater controls, which will be probably more in depth than anything else here. Well, there's the bezels installed. Tucks up there nicely. Actually, the black doesn't look too horrible under there against the tan. All right, well, these are the controls in question. So from factory, obviously, there's 3 cables that hooked up to this, and when you moved these sliders, it pushed and pulled on the cables to adjust the original or OEM ducting. Now, this one never came with AC, so it only has 3 controls. If you had a car that had factory AC, there'd actually be 4 here. So fairly simple. The kit comes with these little modules that are going to get mounted somehow like that and hook up to the original controls there, and then when you slide the lever, it's going to push and pull this in. So it'll select between heat or air conditioning, whether you want defrost, floor, or vent. It's all going to be handled with this stock panel. It came with new labels for the front here, fan mode and temp. So I've got to take this apart, replace those, and then get these mounted up, and then this harness just plugs into that evap that we mounted on the Firewall, and we'll plug into the back of these. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, it goes without saying, you kind of have to disassemble this to remove the lens. Involves drilling out 4 rivets, and then this just pops out, so I can place my sticker on top of that, reinsert the lens, and reassemble the heater controls. Okay, that's got the levers installed. Now I've just gone ahead and secured the wires to the side of this. Everything moves freely, nothing is interfering. So that should all work. And then the other side of this harness just plugs into that evap module right on top. So nothing to it really. I will say that this all feels very fragile and cheaply made, so you're going to want to be very careful with this, and I'm honestly a little bit worried about this. I may build something to kind of protect it, but should be all right, hopefully anyway. But yeah, looks like it should work good. All right, well, That's got the controls mounted back up with its new face and all those modules hanging up in there. So it's actually out of the way, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. And then that wire just runs over and plugs in right there, I believe. So nothing left to do but wire it and charge the AC. Okay, well, that's got the vast majority of the AC installed on the car anyway. Obviously, I have yet to wire it, and I've yet to put the system under vacuum and fill it full of refrigerant. I will be doing that shortly because I don't want the system to sit as it is. Just worried about wrecking that receiver dryer, so I'll get that done ASAP. As for the wiring, I think I'm going to have that in a separate video because I need to wire the car first before I know where I'm going to route things and how I want everything to lay out. So that's likely going to be the next thing I do, is wire the car. Then I'll have another video where I finish off the AC install with the wiring of that. And then obviously I need to wire in the standalone harness for the LS as well. So lots of wiring to do, but we are getting really close to having this thing running and driving. My drive shaft is away, getting shortened right now. So other than that, I need to fill it with fluids. And if the wiring's done, this thing should technically fire up and drive. I've got no seats, no seat belts, no interior yet, but we could technically cut a lap sitting on the floorboards once I get that done. So I believe I'm going to end this video there. I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. And we'll catch you on the next one.
780 speed in custom.